Sorry, throw that in.
There's your drill, Tim.
I had a question, Tim.
There you go. Sure, Wally.
You mentioned the U11 team going on and winning, a medal in the provincials. I'm just curious, to what degree, like, did you coach that team, or were you just out occasionally, or what was the ratio of your presence to get these concepts across to them?
No, that's a great question. So they're a double A team. I ran their training camp at the beginning of the year. So it was like, an hour and a half a day for 5 days. And at that point, I would have characterized them as a double B team. Like they were not a double A team. As they were quite weak. Their first game of the season, they lost 12-1. So they lost through Christmas. I don't think they won a game, or if they did, it was beating another not so double A team. Throughout that time, I wasn't their regular skills coach, but I was on with them and their head coach, kind of as a support staff, helping him. So he's an older guy. He's coached forever. And the great thing about Steve is he teaches all possession. You have to skate yourself out of trouble. If he teaches one thing, that's the one thing he teaches. Get it? It's all stick handling, crossovers, quick feet, edges, pushing. He has this whole skill progression he does in the middle of the ice with them for 15 minutes. And it's they touch the puck 8 billion times. They change direction 8 billion times with their head up, calling out numbers. And what we saw was all of them became extraordinarily confident carrying the puck. So that they just carried the puck everywhere. And that's how they started to win, is they could just break pressure on their own. They didn't need anybody else. They could tight turn, they could turn up, they could go. And he teaches this, he's been teaching this for decades. And you see with his older players that are in our U15 and our U18, you can tell who was coached by Steve, because they're all extremely confident possessing the puck under pressure and breaking pressure on their own. So that's sort of his focus. And I would say, okay, I was more like coach advisor. Hey, we need to get a little bit more reps in practice. Hey, let's try 3 stations. He knew what he was doing, but it was kind of just making it a little bit better, a little bit more efficient. Other than that, I didn't coach them at all. They had 3 very good, knowledgeable coaches. And in provincials, he just asked me to come, because I would see them all the time at practice, and I'd help push pucks and give feedback in practice, right? As an assistant, hey, hold your hands like this, put your leg there when you turn, but I wasn't running the drills. So I came on the bench and I just stood there and observed, right? I wasn't going to say anything. You guys, those of you who've seen me coach know me, I talk all the time, but I was just standing there. And these coaches talk like some of the stuff they're saying, junior complicated. I'm like, whoa, okay, these kids cannot pick up what you're putting down, but they can all skate with the puck and they all beat everybody great. So I was watching over the course of the 5 games, I think it was 5 games, going, okay, what do they need? Okay, the coaches are giving them too much. The coaches are excited. We're in provincials and they kept winning. So they get more and more excited, which means they're talking more. And everything's more stressful. And I'm just showing up. So there's no stress on me. It's not my kid. So I was just the calm, between the crazy. And so the first game, I didn't really say much of anything until Steve said to me, hey, do you want to talk to them between periods, or do you want to say something in the dressing room after the game? I'm like, sure. And then the second game, I said a little bit more. And then when we got to the bronze medal game, which nobody thought we would get to, that's when I said to the coach, I'm doing the pregame. No one else gets to talk in the pregame. And it was a 2-minute pregame. And we got scored on the first shift, so it wasn't a very good pregame. But we ended up winning in overtime, so I guess it worked out. But yeah, I didn't come in guns a-blazing, because I thought I'll just come on the bench for 1 game. It's kind of fun for the girls. I wasn't, and then they kept inviting me back because they kept winning, and I was like, okay, I'll just keep coming. And then when we won, they're like, oh, Kim, thanks so much. I'm like, I think more than anything else, I was a calming presence. I've obviously coached a lot, so I think the parents and the players were excited about that, and the coaches. But it was just those little nuggets, things like backpack pressure, or being able to say to some of the more talented players, right? Oh, see how they're all coming to you? Now you got to do this. And the ones who are less confident, I had been on the ice with them enough to know what their one really good thing was. So I knew well enough to know, like, that kid can skate like the wind. And so they'd be at the gate and I just send her out and be like, Sally, you got to just go and cause chaos. Like, just go in there. And so there was, like, I'd say half the team where my only instruction was to just hunt the other team. I don't care what you do. Just hunt them. They get the puck, hunt them. That was all the coaching they got from me all weekend, and they loved it. They're like, yes, I'm going to hunt. And they were all tiny, so no one got penalties. They just hunt. Sometimes they got penalties, though. Sorry. But all of a sudden, we're turning over pucks all over the place. I didn't tell them how to hunt. That hunt, like, go get them. Get that puck, hunt. And they're like, okay. So hunting and backpack were like the only two things that might have been new terms. But, at that level, it made a significant difference. And I've coached long enough to know, finally, that less is more. And you just give them a couple things and be great at those couple things. And it worked out. But again, we scored in overtime, shorthanded, with a girl going end to end, scoring from below the goal line after every coach on the bench is like, ice it, because we're on the penalty kill. Ice it. And she just dangled everybody and shot it from behind the net and went in. So, like, we don't know anything. It wasn't planned. But the team we beat in the bronze medal game was the team that beat us 12-0 the first, or 12-1 the first game of the year. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I didn't reinvent the wheel. Steve is basically fully competent and comfortable doing it on his own. But I think that's a bit of the art of coaching. Once you've done it a long time, like we have, is you can just come in and give a few key points that can make a massive difference, as opposed to coming in and trying to change a lot of things. Because by that point, with U11 players, you're not going to change anything. It's impossible. So that was it. And I would, if I was going on the bench with the junior team, I would do the same thing. It would be a couple key things, one, maybe two, that I observe would have a significant impact on the way they play the game. So yeah, I talked enough today, Wally. Let someone else talk.
I got another question for you. You're sort of a mentor, skill developer, coach. You're a full-time employee of the association. Everybody knows you. Coaches are going to ask you to come on the bench comfortably. And out here, as a retired former coach, I'm asked to mentor, not by the coaches, by the association, because I think their coaches need help, and the coaches aren't comfortable with that. So I find mentorship really doesn't work when it comes from an assigned perspective. And over the years, you've built a relationship that's created a trust and respect where they're happy to have you on the bench with them. And I think the biggest challenge is people with so much experience. There's an art to mentorship. And the first thing is, how do you build that relationship to gain that trust and respect? So being asked to go on the bench is huge. And what you've given me is tips on mentorship, because I've been asked to formally mentor a coach who is comfortable with me being there. And I'm definitely really appreciate this last portion of what you said. So